When I think of the campaign, it brought several things to the university. First of all, it was this idea that we have to be able to tell our story. The benefit that we received from the business community, from the international community, you can see in the number of buildings that have been populated.
Getting more and more really spectacular faculty to lead the charge in a lot of different areas, engaging students in hands-on research to discover new knowledge and connect that knowledge to local communities, to business and industry, to policymakers. This is such an exciting time for research at Oregon State University.
You know, I'm just proud of the fact that the student athletes are so involved in the community, whether it's Beavers Without Borders, whether it's going to a school and reading to grade school kids. From a personal standpoint, I can tell you the impact that winning a national championship had on our players and our institution and our fan base. We could go into any airport in America after that, and it was a Go Beavs. You know, everybody saw us on television for 14 days.
Our metrics are better across the board. Whether you talk about research dollars, whether you talk about enrollment, whether you talk about retention, whether you talk about performance, financial performance, whatever, we're better on all counts.
Because of the excellence that we've developed over time in the environment, in forestry, agriculture, fisheries, we serve the state of Oregon in an incredible way.
Please welcome John Valva, Vice President of Alumni Relations and the Executive Director of the OSU Alumni Association.
Hello and welcome to the 2020 State of the University Address. We are excited to have so many of you with us today as we celebrate the impact of Oregon State University and its people. We also will take this moment to appreciate the last 17 years of accomplishments of OSU and Beaver Nation during the transformative tenure of our president, Edward J. Ray. I'm certain that I speak on behalf of the entire Oregon State community, and certainly from all of us at the Alumni Association and OSU Foundation, in thanking President Ray for fostering an unparalleled culture of trust, collaboration between the university and those of us who work to grow support for OSU. His steadfast commitment to partnership is an enduring legacy that will be a force for positive change for decades to come. I hope each of you have had a chance to interact with today's lobby exhibits and demonstrations, which provide many examples of the ingenuity and impact of Oregon State and its people. What those exhibits represent never ceases to blow my mind. So please join me in a round of applause for the students, faculty, and staff who work so hard to create them and to represent OSU. Now, take a moment and look around this room. You encompass the largest crowd in the notable history of this state of the university. Let's give it up to all of you who are here today. In a room full of this many Beavers and friends, I have an irresistible urge to celebrate you. So let's have some fun with this. I ask you to think about your first ever interaction with Oregon State University. Where were you? What were you doing? What year was that? And how many years ago was that moment? Now, I know that involves doing math in your head, but we're all Beavers here, and I know you can do it. Maybe your life with OSU started at a Beaver game, or the year you enrolled as a student, or perhaps when your granddaughter enrolled, the year you went to work for OSU, or the year your company became a partner of some sort with the university. Perhaps for some of you, your first interaction is actually right here today. Now, let's celebrate the depth of our collective OSU experience. By a show of hands, who here feels like today is your first ever OSU interaction? Perfect. Now, how many of you, as you think about your first interaction, that has been about a year ago? Raise those hands. There's a few of you. Keep those hands up. Do me a favor, keep those hands up. How about up to 5 years? A few more. Keep those hands raised. Up to 15 years. More. Keep them up. I want to keep seeing those hands. Up to 25 years of involvement. Up to 50 years of involvement. Over 50 years, raise those hands. Wow, keep those hands up. Look around. This, my friends, is Oregon State University. This group of Beavers represents the impact, influence, and passion of a great university. Let's hear for all of you. Today, as we honor the impact of Oregon State University during these last 17 years of exceptional Ed Ray leadership, let's also remember that the legacy involvement by each of us, our friends watching online, and our own Beaver networks is what collectively is what makes a university's value permanent. Thank you. Our generous partners help bring this event to Portland. Our presenting sponsors are your local Toyota dealers and the Oregon State University Foundation. And additional thanks to all of our internet, event, and table sponsors listed in your program. Let's have a round of applause for all of our sponsors. Additionally, thank you to the companies, individuals, and organizations that generously sponsor tables in the room. If you have a host at your table today, please take a moment and thank them for their support. And thanks to the many, many staff members, including those in University Relations and Marketing, the OSU Alumni Association, the OSU Foundation, and in universities, colleges, and other units who collaborated over the last several months to make this day a success. I'd like to ask all colleagues who played a role in today's planning to stand and be recognized. Most of them are shy because I didn't see them standing. The robustness of our alumni population, well over 200,000 of them now, is a shining legacy. And we at the Alumni Association are proud to lead efforts to engage and inspire Beavers to do more good work wherever they may be. We do this by sharing stories of success from the worldwide community of Oregon State, so that we can continue to nurture our collective pride in what it means to be an Oregon Stater. We do it by encouraging one another to advocate more strongly than ever for the accessible, diverse, life-transforming mission of OSU and our land-grant mission. And we do it by providing clear and exciting ways to connect for Beavers willing to donate your time and treasure to support our students, our faculty, athletes, and the university as a whole. It is within this context that we applaud President Ray as an unwavering optimist. When he proudly notes what the people of Oregon State University have accomplished, he is relentless in his insistence that we are just getting started, and there will always be important work to do. We at the Alumni Association vow to eagerly push ahead in the coming years, gathering even more Oregon Staters into active participation as we create change in a world that, more than ever, relies on building a common sense of community, optimism, inclusion, innovation, and kindness. Your philanthropy, volunteerism, connections, and expertise are linchpins to OSU's continued excellence. Thank you. We will now give you some time to enjoy your lunch and table mates, and we will be back to resume our program shortly with inspiring words from President Rays. Go Beavs!
August of '94, I was just a young coach looking for an opportunity.
When I arrived here in 1995,
As a married student in 1958, going into my junior year,
I came to OSU in 2015.
In 1978, as a young assistant professor.
It's been actually remarkable to watch the growth of OSU over that time. There is a tremendous amount of energy here. There's been more direction for that energy.
We've seen new clothing brands get started by students. We've seen magazines being created. We've seen runways happening from students. And this is all stuff that I didn't see as much my freshman year.
We are in every one of the counties in our state, so our awareness of the needs of Oregonians in the state of Oregon is quite broad, and how we can respond to that is incredible.
The growth, is unbelievable. If you walk a kid around this campus today compared to when I got here, I might need a guide to tell me where's Austin Hall, where's Kelly Engineering.
The time that I've been at OSU has been a time of very significant transition, and the early work that was done, we're now building on, and it's only getting more and more impactful and more exciting.
And now, please welcome the leader of Beaver Nation, the 14th president of Oregon State University, Edward J. Ray.
Thank you. I don't want to make anyone late for work. Thank you, John, and thanks to each of you for such a wonderful welcome. Today we are joined by more than 900 Portland area and Oregon community business and education leaders and members and friends of Beaver Nation. I am inspired by your engagement in Oregon State University, and I am inspired each day as we collaborate across the university and with partners throughout the world to serve students and communities and find solutions to problems such as providing clean water and food for a growing world population, addressing climate change, and advancing learning, prosperity, and wellness in our state's communities. Yet together, we must do more, much, much more. I call upon each of us to assure greater access, affordability for all Oregonians to enjoy the benefits of college. And I ask you to join me in advancing the public good that higher education provides to our future. Today I will share news about OSU and address several issues that we simply must pursue. Thanks to the leadership, work, and support of many, OSU is thriving as Oregon's statewide university. From another year of faculty excellence in teaching, research, and community service to record student enrollment, a 15% increase in research funding, growing diversity and student success, OSU's transformative impact extends from Oregon to the world. The contributions that we make begin and end with incredible OSU faculty. As well, our promise to serve all people begins with our students. This promise extends to all learners, statewide and globally, regardless of their age, race, gender, sexual orientation or identity, religion, nation of origin, disability, or economic circumstances, everybody. Here are several university highlights to demonstrate that at OSU, we focus on the future by improving who we are today. In June, we graduated our largest class ever, 7,202 students from our Corvallis campus and 331 students at OSU Cascades. Our fall enrollment totaled a record 32,744 students, making OSU the state's largest university for the 6th straight year. The diversity of our enrollment has achieved record levels among students of color, veterans, international students, and first-generation students. Generous donors contributed $144.5 million in 2019 to the OSU Foundation, our second best year ever. This included $28.5 million for OSU's Undergraduate Student Success Initiative. And as of February 1st, in just 5 years, donors, big and small, have contributed nearly $144 million of the $150 million goal for student success, increasing annual donor support for our students by 50%. OSU's men's and women's athletics teams continue to compete successfully in the Pac-12 and nationally. Our student athletes earned an overall record of grade point average of 3.22 in fall term, and they volunteered for 3,500 hours over the last year in local and national causes, such as food insecurity and mental health wellness for all students. Our eCampus online degree program serves record numbers of learners in undergraduate and graduate education. Last month, U.S. News and World Report ranked our online undergraduate program as number 5 in the nation. This is our 6th straight year in the top 10 ranking, which results from innovation and work within our 10 academic colleges involving nearly 1,000 faculty. We continue to extend our service to the Portland region through our new Portland Center, collaboration with community colleges and school districts, OSU Extension Services, and research initiatives with business and hospitals. Meanwhile, research funding awarded to OSU faculty last year totaled $439.7 million, our second best year ever. So do you need some more sound bites? Listen to this. Last year, U.S. News and World Report declared OSU the Pacific Northwest's most innovative university and the nation's 33rd most innovative university. 7 OSU faculty were ranked last year among the world's most cited researchers. And this year, and this is what's so wonderful about our community, I mean, I literally learned this yesterday. This year, we have 8 faculty designated as Fulbright faculty scholars and 5 students as Fulbright student scholars. To give you a sense of how significant that is, that ties us for 4th place nationally for most Fulbright scholars among our faculty, and it ties us with some pretty good universities, the University of Washington, Michigan State University, Purdue, and a few others. 2 weeks ago, OSU was again honored by the Carnegie Foundation for its community engagement in Oregon and worldwide. In fact, OSU is one of only 28 universities nationally to receive Carnegie recognition for both engagement and very high research activity. Popular Mechanics, I like this stuff. Popular Mechanics ranked, when you're old like me, you don't hear things like this much, ranked the 20 coolest machine inventions of the last decade. The number 6 cool invention was a small modular nuclear power reactor that originated from our College of Engineering and now is being advanced by NuScale Power. The discovery of a new color blue by OSU chemist Mas Subramanian and research by OSU Associate Professor Chad Higgins regarding using solar panels on farmlands to serve global energy needs were in the top 10 science social media stories as calculated by the National Science Foundation. In 2019, the third most read research paper worldwide was written by OSU forestry professor Bill Ripple and 4 international colleagues. The paper was entitled "A World Scientist's Warning of a Climate Emergency," and it has been endorsed and signed by 13,324 scientists from 156 countries. Now, if that isn't impact, I don't know what is. Thank you. Now, as you leave today, you will receive Impact 2020, a portfolio featuring remarkable people and programs out there making a difference. And with it, you will receive a gift to share with others. Our work at OSU is not about accolades or records. It's about service to others. The heart of that service starts with students from all walks of life and nations. Some of our students are with us here today, and I'd ask all OSU students who are here, please stand and be recognized. OSU is a destination of choice, not just within Oregon, but nationally and globally, for students seeking to transform their futures and their communities. For example, 7 OSU students from Central Asia, as well as 4 students from the US and South Korea, have been enrolled in a College of Earth, Ocean, and Atmospheric Sciences master's degree program on water cooperation. These students will be key players on issues that cross the borders of many nations related to water management, promoting peace, and effective governance. Elsewhere at OSU, our students are learning to not only be innovative scientists, engineers, veterinarians, farmers, foresters, pharmacists, but great teachers, artists, designers, writers, business people, and wellness advocates. Looking ahead, we will inspire learning, teaching, innovation, and community service within renovated labs and classrooms, a new best-in-class arts and education complex to be built in Corvallis, the June opening of a marine studies building in Newport, and a second academic building and student success center on our Bend campus. We also aspire to advance the future within a planned collaborative innovation complex that will bring teaching and research in multidisciplinary sciences to Corvallis. We are also exploring completing Reser Stadium for year-round usage to benefit OSU athletics, but also to benefit university-wide teaching, research, and experiential learning opportunities. Join me in advancing such opportunities, whether you are an alum, student, donor, university colleague, OSU stakeholder, or committed Oregonian. As OSU's president since 2003, I've had the good fortune of being in the catbird seat to see all that occurs within the university, and I can assure you it's been quite a view. A lot of remarkable things have happened, are happening, will happen. Our service to ever more students, changes in the composition of OSU's enrollment, and the increased success of our students have been nothing short of remarkable. These past 2 decades, the percentage of historically underrepresented students at OSU has nearly doubled from 13.5% to 26.3%. Our international enrollment has tripled to 3,492, while our 6-year graduation rate has increased from 60.5% to 67.1%. So if people tell you there's a trade-off between excellence and inclusion, don't believe it. We're proving here that we achieve excellence through diversity. Thanks to investments. Thank you. Thanks to investments made by donors, students, and the state and the university, OSU completed, now listen to this, 96 major facility renovations and new buildings over the past 2 decades that added 2.6 million gross square feet to our campuses at a value in excess of $1.1 billion. And thanks to many of you, we completed the campaign for OSU in 2014, raising $1.142 billion. The momentum and achievements over time are due to the hard work, leadership, and collaboration of many partners, state, federal, and local leaders, the OSU Board of Trustees, current academic and university administrators, many former colleagues, including deans, faculty, and the past provost and executive vice president, Sabah Randhawa, and the late Mark McCambridge, a dear friend who served for many years as vice president for finance and administration. And I'll go off script here to share something with you briefly. Some years ago, Mark told me, we were talking, and I said, well, have you thought about when you're going to retire? He says, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to retire till you do. And so instead of thinking, well, that's kind of nice, you know, the guy likes me, he's going to stick around till I retire. But no, I wasn't good enough with that. I asked him, well, why is that? And he looked at me and he said, because it's too damn hard to train another president. So anyway, we also had more than 106,000 donors from all walks of life, community volunteers and stakeholders who advance our work in extension and 4-H, education and industry partners, and the OSU Foundation and Alumni Association, which work more closely and seamlessly together today than ever before. Since 2004, OSU benefited beyond measure from the leadership of recently retired Foundation President Mike Goodwin. Mike literally brought OSU into the 21st century with regard to fundraising. He created a contemporary organization that is a leader in fundraising support for thousands of students, faculty, and initiatives serving many Oregon communities. Mike promoted an incredibly strong culture of collaboration between the university and the OSU Foundation that is the envy of universities nationally. Now, I know that Mike and his wonderful wife, Sheila, are here with us today, so I'd ask them to stand so that we can all recognize and thank them. Those of you who know Mike know he lives for these moments. I am confident that new Foundation President Sean Scoville, a phenomenal partner with Mike these many years, will continue such efforts and support, and I have great confidence in the collaborative work of the university and the foundation going forward. While the past decade or more has been about adding additional teaching, research, and student support facilities, the future will be more about improving existing university facilities and expanding our OSU Cascades campus so that we can better serve students to be successful, faculty and their research excellence, and our outreach mission as a 21st century land-grant university. At OSU, we have a roadmap for the future, and we will continue the university's momentum with Strategic Plan 4.0, which was launched just a year ago. We are on the right path with the right people. Future contributors include incoming OSU President, Dr. F. King Alexander, who joins the university on July 1. I am very enthusiastic about OSU's future with its next president. Dr. Alexander is the right person at the right time for OSU and for our state. In recent years, we have accomplished a great deal at OSU by not accepting the status quo. That resolve must continue. It will require additional work to maintain this momentum and realize our aspirations for all people. Looking ahead, we face challenges and uncertainty as well as opportunities and responsibilities. Our chief responsibilities are to advance inclusive excellence, more fully advance success for all learners, and eliminate achievement gaps among groups of students. Thanks to the work of many, we are making headway in these areas, but there is much, much more work to do. Going forward, we need to invest in and rethink ways to better serve the needs of our students of color, first-generation students, and students with great financial need. We also must advance student mental health well-being by addressing the crisis of anxiety and despair that is growing among young adults today. I'm proud of the wellness steps we are taking at OSU. Student and faculty leaders, for example, have joined with counseling staff to add a syllabus statement for all courses that encourages students struggling with anxiety or depression to reach out for faculty support and directs them to appropriate resources. We have implemented a university-wide online mental health wellness training for faculty, staff, and students on how to recognize and assist those who are in distress. As well, OSU is supporting students struggling with many basic needs, including food and housing insecurity. Our efforts are attracting significant support from community members, donors, and the OSU Foundation. I am very pleased to announce today that Thomas Toomey, an OSU graduate from the College of Business and a foundation trustee, has established a $1 million endowed fund devoted to address student needs such as food insecurity and emergency housing. Tom Toomey is with us here today. Please join me in acknowledging Tom for his incredible generosity and support. Tom, would you please stand up? We also must increase understanding of the value of a college degree and support for public higher education, and specifically its special role, the special role that research universities play in supporting state and national prosperity. In a 2018 survey, Oregonians were split on whether a degree from an Oregon public university is worth its cost and will provide graduates a better job, more lifetime earnings. Nationally, such skepticism is shared in great numbers. Is college worth it? Is an OSU degree worth it in life and career? The answer is a resounding yes, you better believe it. According to a survey of OSU graduates just completed by Eco Northwest, 72% of those responding work in a field broadly related to their undergraduate degree. And the significance of that is our graduates are not out there walking around aimlessly. They studied what they have a passion for. They were prepared for their careers, and in fact, they've done very, very well. So let me give you an example. The annual median income of our graduates of $80,000 to $100,000 a year enjoyed by the OSU graduates responding to the survey is between 33 and 66% greater than the median income of all Oregonians and U.S. residents with college degrees, as reported by the U.S. Census data. And what that tells you is that our graduates don't just go into their career and make do. They are leaders. They are getting compensation premiums that recognize that they are people who have an impact in their careers, in their communities, in their lives. But as the expense of higher education increases, and as state disinvestment in public universities continues, America is placing the financial burden of a degree on the backs of students and their families. Since the late 1970s, while the price of consumer goods has increased by a factor of 4, the cost of college has increased by a factor of 14. Over the past 3 decades, the cost of an education at an Oregon public university has grown and is now paid 2/3 by students and 1/3 by the state. A complete reversal of previous student burden and state support. And this has all happened only in the last 15 years. According to a report last year by the National State Higher Education Executive Officers Association, the amount the state of Oregon paid in 2018 per full-time student, while adjusted for inflation, was only $5 more per student than in 2008, 10 years earlier. Meanwhile, the report cited that 38 other states contributed more per student in 2018 than Oregon did. Thankfully, the Oregon legislature increased its support in 2019. Yet an increase of $262 per full-time student annually still means 31 states contribute more to educating college learners than does the state of Oregon. Is this the level of support we want for Oregonians and the future of our state and the future of our nation? I don't think so. I think we got a lot of work to do. As a result of decades of disinvestment, students nationally are acquiring much more debt while they are in college. The national average of debt for students graduating in the last year is $29,800 per graduate. In 18 states, the average exceeds $30,000, while among OSU's 2019 graduating class, the average debt was $22,000. And of students who entered OSU as freshmen in 2015, 46.5% of those who graduated last June graduated with no debt and a degree. I think we're doing a pretty good job against some pretty tough headwinds. Going forward, we must reduce the cost of a college degree for learners across the nation. We must reverse a trend where public higher education nationally has literally abandoned people at the lower end of the economic spectrum and soon the middle class. And we must end a risk of privatizing public universities because of a growing dependence on tuition. Each of us should be very concerned by these prospects. We should work together to ensure that public higher education remains a public good for Oregon, a public good that deserves increased state and federal support. As Oregonians, we should follow the example of major business, community, and media leaders in the state of Washington who convinced their state to greatly increase funding for higher education. The effort we should engage in is not solely about our state's colleges and universities. It should be a commitment to seamlessly serve and invest in all Oregon students enrolled from pre-kindergarten through college. And it should be about the state business and our colleges investing in university research as an engine of Oregon's economy and community prosperity throughout the state. Please accept your role in addressing Oregon's funding needs for all levels of the education continuum. The future is in each of our hands, and we need champions outside of the education sector itself. As I conclude my remarks, however, I want to take a moment to look back, thank you, and to look forward. It has been an honor and a great joy serving as OSU's president since day one. When my late wife Beth and I first arrived in Oregon, people not surprisingly would ask Beth things they would not particularly be interested in asking me, such as, how do you like it here? Or, do you think you're going to stay? Beth would respond by saying, yes, we came here and we found it. People would ask, what do you mean by it? And Beth would say, this is where we need to be. Nearly 17 years later, I say thank you for your warm welcome and embrace, your personal care and support through difficult and good times. And thank you for your collaboration as colleagues, friends, OSU supporters, students, and Oregonians. I am a very lucky man, and let me confirm that after I step down as OSU's president on June 30th, I am staying here because this place remains it for me. And this is where I need to be. Meanwhile, the momentum enjoyed within Oregon State University will continue, and the university's impact will continue to grow far into the future. And I guarantee you, and I cannot say this enough or loudly enough, the best, the very best is yet to come for OSU, for the students we serve and the people we serve in Oregon and the nation and across the world. Thank you, God bless you, and go Beavs!
The one thing we had in common from the beginning is, man, he thinks big.
He really is a visionary, but he's also very practical.
He's somebody who I learned a lot from.
Ed did not mince words, but if you listened to what he had to say, you knew there was a reason why he was saying it. He could put it within the context of the bigger picture.
What's happened, I think, here with Ed is that our sights got lifted up, our accountability got lifted up, and our performance got elevated.
We firmly believe that the teaching, research, and outreach mission of the university needs to be grounded in people, and Ed Ray has enabled that focus.
You know, Ed acted on what he really, really dreamed was something we could do. And now you look at Oregon State, it's not just statewide, it's just not regional, it's global.
He always gave advice without meaning to that was really helpful and applicable to whatever I was going through. Ed Ray is somebody who is really balanced, so whenever we would be talking about something complex, he would somehow be able to weave a personal story into it.
What I can say is that Ed, not only does he like the university, he loves OSU. And I think that there is something amazing that comes from a leader who loves the place where he's leading.
He's not only the leader, but he's a friend. And that's where I think of him the most. I appreciate you, I thank you, and I wish you the best, my friend.
Ed Ray, I know that I speak for everyone in this room and those online to say that OSU is it for us, and you are it for OSU. Thank you. To emphasize our point that the most important part of President Ray's legacy is what will unfold going forward, we have asked one of our most active and distinguished student leaders to join us on stage and ask him some questions. Those of us who have gotten to know this young woman can attest that with students like her, our alumni future is bright. Please help me welcome a senior majoring in biochemistry and molecular biology and your current president of the Associated Students of Oregon State University, Rachel Josephson.
Thank you, John, even though you took my first line, because I wanted to start off by saying thank you, Ed, because for years, for 17 years, you've improved student lives here. So thank you on behalf of students today, students the past 17 years, and students of tomorrow. Go Beavs. So speaking of students, my favorite line, I want to pick your brain and see, are there any experiences that you've had with students that shaped your experience, your presidency, and your leadership at OSU? What comes to mind?
Yeah, there actually is, there are so many individual experiences. I've gotten to know you and Kylie and leaders of ASOSU and the MU in the past, and I assure you they're all amazing people. We always have a student speaker at a major university event, whether it's athletics or the symphony, and years ago, excuse me, someone asked me if it's hard to get student speakers. And I said, no, they're amazing. They really are amazing, and I believe that's true. But what really sort of cemented my feeling, particularly about Oregon State University students, occurred a long time ago when we were first working on the east side of Research Stadium. Bob DeCarolis, our athletic director, told the student government that if they gave $1 million in student reserves to finishing that part of the stadium, that he would pay them back with $2 million within 5 years. Well, they were shrewd enough to know that's a pretty good investment. And he told me that he had done that because he really wanted them to feel like the stadium was theirs, that they had some skin in the game. And he wanted to reward them. He didn't need another $1 million, but he wanted them to have ownership of the stadium. And so they had their $2 million. Well, a year, 2, 3 years later, we're talking about the cultural centers and making, upgrading and changing them part of the university campaign. And as part of the process, we cobbled together support from lots of areas. But the one that touched my heart and said, not only is this a special place, but our students are exceptional, was that the students voted to provide more than $300,000 of the money they had just gotten to each of those 4 cultural centers to help with the reconstruction process. And I thought that act of generosity, that caring about including and supporting all members of our culture was exactly what we all needed to be doing, and the students showed us the way to do it. And so that's always really energized me to not forget that we're here to serve the least and the most vulnerable among us as well as everybody else, and we need to be all in all the time.
Thank you, Ed. So active inclusivity and inclusive excellence are priorities that OSU is held by you and for higher education as a whole. So those principles are so critical for the success of students, faculty, all OSU members. Could you share why this means so much to you personally?
Well, a personal story and an observation. The personal story is I grew up in Queens and New York City. I lived in very diverse neighborhoods. I'm old enough that I had friends who had family who had died in the Holocaust, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. And in a number of situations, I found people, despite that experience, who could use the N-word, who would talk disparagingly about people of Hispanic heritage. And it just struck me as incredible, given everything that their life experience had shown them, that they still couldn't let go and embrace people who were not the same as them. And so even as a very young boy, that seemed so wrong that I knew I had to do whatever I could do to turn things around. We've had the opportunity at Oregon State to increase. I talked about the percentages and numbers of students from diverse backgrounds. I honestly believe that the more broadly each of us is exposed to people from different backgrounds, experience, political, religious, whatever aspects of life, the more we're tested about who we are and what we hope to accomplish by people who don't start out on the same page with us, the greater the possibility we're going to learn who we are in the most complete sense, to really complete ourselves. And I think life is a lot about finding out who you are and completing your journey, however works for you. And so it's not just about being inclusive and supportive of other people for their sake. It's for each of our benefits. Each of us is richer because we have those opportunities to interact with people from every aspect of life. We are all richer for it.
Thank you. Now, Ed, for the last question, I actually got to ask you this a few months ago, and I asked, what are you going to do on July 1st? And he immediately responded, sleep in. I think we all know you've got a few more plans other than that. So when July 1st rolls around and you've stepped down as OSU president, what are your plans as an educator, an advocate, and a leader?
Well, on the most personal side, I'm going to get a dog. And it's going to be a standard poodle. And his name is going to be Charlemagne, but we're going to call him Chuck. On the more serious side of the ledger, I'll be back in Bexell Hall as a professor of economics, which I'll remain, and be on a sabbatical for a while. But I really look forward to teaching, doing talks. I've actually asked Larry Rogers, the dean of CLA, to tell me what they would like me to do. That seems a reasonable thing to allow them to think about. I belong to a couple of national organizations that I'll continue to work with, one on sort of creating free trade capabilities for online education. So you can take an online course from Oregon and Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania from Oregon, to make things as seamless as possible for the benefit of students everywhere. I chair the Special Olympics Oregon this year. We've been through, I think, hell and back is not an unfair description. We have incredible leadership there. We're out of the ditch. We're starting to provide more service and opportunities for athletes and their families, and you know, we're looking to, I mean, my dream is, I don't know if we'll be able to do it, is to bring the Summer Special Olympics back to Reeser in the summer of 2021. So a lot of things to do. I'm not a bonbons eating TV watcher in the afternoon, so I think I'll find ways to fill my days.
I believe it. Thank you. All right.
President Ray, President Josephson, thank you both, and thank you for your leadership at Oregon State University.
Thank you. Thank
you. In a few moments, we'll adjourn to the lobby to enjoy dessert and continue our conversations. But first, let's rise and join a recognizable group of talented students who want to bid a salute to Oregon State and to President Ed Ray. Go Beavs!
Go Beavs.